Well, good morning, and thank you so much for being here. I wanted to announce that in the privacy of my office, I signed House Bill 201, which was a House bill that had been worked on by quite a few members of the legislature. And what that House Bill 201 does is it has an employee and their performance interview actually follow the teachers and actually follow the principals and the instructors that we have in our education system in Idaho. The reason that that's important is we've had times in the past when a person that wasn't really doing their job, whether it was an administrator or a classroom teacher, those people were just passed from building to building and district to district, and now we're going to have a performance file that will actually follow those, which adds a lot more transparency, I believe, to the needs of our education system. But I appreciate you being here this morning for the signing of Senate Bill 1184, as amended, for education. I want to begin by thanking the sponsors, those who put their name on the bill. Of course, myself and Tom Luna, but also John Getty, the President Pro Tem, Brent Hill, and Speaker of the House, Lawrence Denny. Without their help and without their vision and their guidance, this simply would not have been possible. The members of the House leadership and the members of the House Education Committee that also stood behind these efforts, I think it was these last 88 days, have been extremely important to the passage of these. But I also want to make a special mention, and that is of the Idaho Business Coalition for Excellence in Education. Now, many people, and much was touted about this in the media, that this was an idea that Tom and I had come up with since the election, because we hadn't talked an awful lot about it. We had talked an awful lot about the need for education, the need for changes in education, but we hadn't talked about a lot of the specifics. But because of the leadership of folks like Mark Benson from IACI, and also Vince Hannity, Guy Hurlbutt, Mike Gwartney, Skip Oppenheimer, who headed up the IBCEE, and I want you to know that they came to me in 2005 after I had decided I was not going to run for Congress again, but that I was going to come home and run for governor. And they came to me and told me their stories about business not being able to hire our high school students without giving them remedial math, remedial science, remedial English. And so we just were not producing the kind of employee and the kind of workforce that they needed, and they wanted to do something to change it. And so beginning in 2005 and all the way up to 2007 when I did become governor, I went back and met with the IBCEE, and I asked them to bring in all the stakeholders, everyone, into the same room and put together for Tom and I a policy that we could then construct legislation around to reform the education in Idaho for a couple of reasons. Number one, because the system we had wasn't working. It wasn't producing the kind of students that we needed. Even our college professors, our university presidents were coming back to us and telling us that the remedial classes in the freshman classes on their university campuses were overloaded with students that were not prepared to do college work. And so we needed to make that correction. And we believe this entire reform package is that correction. And so I just want to thank everybody that has worked so hard, withstood the onslaught of misinformation that got out there, but kept their eye on the ball. And I especially want to thank the Idaho Business Coalition for Excellence in Education for their vision of what we needed to do. With the signing of this bill today, our work will just begin, because there are a lot of people that still need to be convinced and still need to understand why this reform is so important. So the implementation phase, which we now will move into, is terribly important. There are those that want us to fail. We're not going to fail. We're going to push this education package, this reform, until it meets the needs of our future workforce, until it meets the needs of the students today. So once again, I want to thank everybody for their efforts in coming forward. Tom?
Thanks, Governor. Thanks, Governor. Thank you. This is a great monumental day for students in Idaho, for the children of Idaho, for your children, your grandchildren, my children, my grandchildren. And there's so many people that need to be thanked for what brings us here to this point. But let me just tell you how historic of a moment this is. The things that these bills and these laws have brought to education in Idaho, many of them are things that we've talked about for a long time, things that we know we should have done long ago. Some of them are timely, and they're responding to the new normal that we are experiencing here in Idaho and across the country in the way of the kind of revenues that will be available for schools and for all government responsibilities now and in the future. And so what we've done is, with the leadership of the governor, is we have put in place a plan that will assure that every student has a great teacher every year that they're in school. This is all about realizing that teachers are not the problem in education, they are the solution. And in that way, we know that the most important factor in a child's academic success is the quality of the teacher in the classroom. And as the state superintendent, but also as a grandfather, I am not going to leave that to chance. We need to assure that every child has a great teacher every year that they're in school, and these bills take us there. And so I want to thank some people. I first want to start by thanking Senator John Getty. Senator Getty was supportive from the very beginning, but he asked the toughest questions up until the very end. And he did not let us just skate by with easy, canned answers. He continued to push me and continued to push my staff and everyone involved in this to come up with the answers to the important questions that were being asked. He held committee hearings that are unprecedented in the amount of time that was made available to take input. And because of that input, there were changes made to these ideas and these plans before they became law. I want to thank Representative Nonini, the chairman of the Senate Education Committee, or House Education Committee. Also, I want to thank the chairman of the vice chairman of the Senate Education Committee, Senator Mortimer, for his leadership in this effort. The vice chairman of the House Education Committee, Mac Shirley, is here. And Mac, thank you so much. And then the leadership, obviously, of the pro tem, Senator Hill and Representative Denny. There were many times along this path where we could have stopped and said, you know, we've accomplished a lot, but we knew we had not accomplished everything that needed to be done, and they remained firm and confident up to the last day and almost the last votes that were cast yesterday in finishing this work. So I want to thank them. I want to thank a young man that's here, Ethan Stroshine. Step over here, Ethan. Ethan is Ethan is a young man from American Falls who listened and heard much of the rhetoric that was going on, and rather than just believing it at face value, he started to investigate the facts himself, and as a result, he created a social network and a web page that caught a lot of attention as a student that was saying, you know, look at this, and he thought it was great for students what we were talking about, and he exposed many of the myths that were out there about the plan, and he drew a lot of attention. Ethan is an example of the kind of students that we have in our state and the future of our state. So thanks, Ethan, for your support. Thanks for being here. And then quickly, I want to thank Cindy, my wife. She's put up with a lot to get us to this point. She's bit her tongue many times. She's written many letters that she did not send, and I just love her, and I thank her for her support. And many of my family members and grandkids are here, and I just want to thank them for their support. But thanks, Cindy. Thanks. And lastly, And I want to, obviously there's a lot of staff here from my staff and the governor's staff, our chiefs of staff, Lucy Willits, the governor's chief of staff, Jason Kreisenbeck, and the others that were involved in this, Roger Brown, Melissa McGrath, Camille Wells, Jason Hancock, and I could go on and on. I hope I haven't forgotten anybody. I have forgotten many. I want to thank Jerry Hess, who's here. Jerry has been a mentor of mine in business and in education for many, many years, and I'm thankful that he's here. And lastly, I'm about done. I have to thank the governor. I shared this story a while ago, but it's absolutely true. A couple years ago, George Wills, a columnist, wrote an article about reforming education in America, and he laid out the things that everyone knew need to happen if we were going to have a better education system. And he laid it out plainly, and it was convincing. The last paragraph in his article, he said, this is how this is going to happen in America. It's going to take a small state with a strong governor to lead the way. Idaho is fortunate to have a strong governor and a strong first lady that led the way. They did not blink, and because we're here today, our children are going to be better off now and in the future. So thank you so much, Governor, for your leadership.
Thank you.
Well, I'd like to thank the governor and the superintendent as well. When I got a call in December and the governor said we'd like to talk about education reform, I had no idea what the depth of the reform we were talking about. Other states have done parts of what we've done, but I don't know of any state that's done as much comprehensive work as we did in Idaho this year. It's landmark legislation, and anecdotally now I'm hearing from teachers about how they can implement what we've passed, how they can get pay-for-performance awards, how they can bring computer technology into their classroom. This is positive, and this is what it's going to take. And I'm hoping that the superintendent and the governor will stay with me on the implementation piece, because I pledge that I'll be there to help make this happen. And I would like to thank Sarah, the secretary for the Senate Education Committee, that took pages and pages and pages of notes and literally hundreds of phone calls. She did yeoman's work this year, work that, yes. Next week I have the opportunity to meet with Secretary Duncan, and I'm sure we'll talk about reform that happened in Idaho this year. Thank you.
How about Matt for the House Education?
Matt?
Come on, jump in.
Thank you, Governor. I'm proud to be here today. I think we've made a terrific accomplishment. It's a historical moment in Idaho education. And I'm just standing in for Representative Bob Nonini, Chairman of the House Education Committee, who couldn't be here. He's back in Coeur d'Alene, or on his way to Coeur d'Alene. I just wanted to express appreciation to him for his leadership. You know, Senator Getty and the Senate Education Committee plowed a straight furrow. And it was the House's assignment to follow and keep that line straight. I thought they passed on a great bill to us, and we had the support of our committee, but more importantly, our House leadership. Speaker Denny and his leadership team were fantastic in giving us all the support we needed. We went through the same process, the hearings. We received the same type of emails from the opposition. But you know, when it's all said and done, we knew that we had a great product that we needed to deliver to our students and to the public. And like I've said before, we're blessed with good, strong teachers in this state. But I think every good teacher will be a better teacher with the proper utilization of technology in the classroom. Thank you so much.
Well, I'd like to echo what Max said. We were on the House side with the leadership of Chairman Nonini and the unassuming, quiet, behind-the-scenes work that Mac did. We were able to pull this off. A couple of things. These are not new concepts. We've talked about this since I started carrying the ed budgets back in JFAC in 2003. These concepts have been around a lot. These are not new. But I want to tell you from Oakley High School's perspective or Oakley Elementary School's perspective what this means. It's very challenging in a small school to have the economies of scale, to have a physics teacher, to have a chemistry teacher, to have a calculus teacher, to have all of the rich curriculum that many of our students in, at Bora or Capital or some of these bigger schools up in the Treasure Valley enjoy. The kids in Oakley are just as deserving, or the ones in Malta and throughout the state, of having all of the classes offered to them that are offered everywhere else in the state. But the economies of scale, the old system didn't allow us to have this all of the time. And so this influx of technology, the in-service training that these teachers will get so that they can offer this rich and varied curriculum, the dual credit is a huge thing. As a parent, I mean, it's certainly nice to have those kids hit their freshman year with a year's worth of credit behind them so that they can get through college in an expedited way and to get out into the workforce. That's a good thing for Idaho's parents as well. But I am really excited about how this will change the curriculum and what is offered in high schools like Oakley High School. And there's 100 other ones just like Oakley in the state. That's the best part of this for me.
Hi. As a teacher, most of you know where I've stood on this. I haven't been too shy about it. I'm really excited for this legislation to hit education, and I just, as a fellow educator, I know that what's in the law is going to help teachers do what teachers say they want to do. It's going to help teachers teach kids. It's going to help teachers provide a better environment for their children, and it's going to help teachers work smarter and not harder. And in this day and age, that's what everybody needs to be doing. And every building administrator and every teacher knows that that's the true way to keep all the balls in the air, is to work smarter, not harder. And technology and the things in this bill are going to allow educators to do those things. And I hope that they take it to heart and that they realize that it's here and that it's in the best interest of the state, and that they move forward in a positive manner and they make it happen, because the possibilities with this legislation truly are endless to impact the future generation of Idaho students from now and for future generations, for grandkids and their generation, and increasing the economy and all of the things that's only going to make education better in this state. So the teachers out there, you have the opportunity now to go forward and go forth and conquer and make the world a better place and your schools a better places for kids. So look at the good parts that you agree with, get your head around the parts that you don't, and let's get with it and make our education system better.
Good job.
In our household, that's usually the final word. But there are a couple of other folks that I really need to mention. And that is those folks that step forward with their own treasure, their own time, with their own reputations. Frank Vandersloot was amongst those. Obviously, Catherine Albertson's Foundation was amongst those. When they saw some errors being made, they, without asking anybody, they stepped forward and said, no, that isn't what this says. That isn't what this education reform is all about. And so, Frank, I want to thank you. I want to thank the Catherine Albertson's Foundations for your great efforts. Thank you. With that, at the hour of 10:51, on the 8th day of April,
Here, use this one too, because I want this one. There you go.
Now it's 10:52.
Thanks, Governor.
Yeah, I'm going to sign with a few of these
Oh, you
others.
got plenty of them. All right.
Yeah.
Well, I didn't see the bucket of them. I thought he was going to use one.
Scalpel.
Good girl.
Yeah. How many letters do you have left?
I should have spelled out Clement,
No, you shouldn't.
Leroy, Joseph, confirmation name. You know, the problem of it is this never looks like my signature when I get done with it on the installment plan.
We're going to be watching for these on eBay, so. This is the T's. There you go. We're done.
No, I got the other T.
We're going to auction these off.
Done.
All right.
You bet. Good job. Good job.